Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Stop Emotional Eating webinar. My name is Gil Rolong. By day, I'm an IT engineer, and by night, I'm an author, and I'm a recovering emotional eater. The reason why I created this webinar is because I wanted to share my journey and how I have made improvements in stopping emotional eating. Am I there 100%? No. But I've made progress enough to want to share what I've learned with all of you. So this is a live event. So remember to put your questions, your experiences, your suggestions in the chat so others can see it. If you are, watching the recording, we still want to welcome you. We want this to be an environment that you feel safe, you feel that you can learn with all of us together as we share our experiences. So, why do we need to focus on emotional eating and why do we need to stop it? It's really, really hard to stop emotional eating. Many years ago, decades ago, they first came out with this topic of emotional eating. They described how people, uh, because of their emotions, they are trying to suppress their feelings. They're trying to avoid their emotions, so they eat to soothe themselves. We're going to go more into that. But this webinar is going to be run every week on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. And each week, I'm going to discuss a topic that's related to the steps we have to take to stop emotional eating. So, we're going to dive deep into the meaning of what emotional eating is. Because a lot of times we just hear the phrase and we really don't stop to really understand what emotional eating is, how it looks, and how it affects us. It takes many steps to heal from the emotions that cause us to eat unhealthily. And that's what this webinar is going to do. Every week, we're going to take baby steps. We're going to talk about topics and how they relate and how we can do homework and do research and learn from each other's experiences so we can make progress so that we can stop emotional eating or get to the point where we have a better and a healthier relationship with food. So let's begin. But as I present this webinar, feel free to ask questions in the chat. Also, feel free to express yourself. Talk about your experience with emotional eating. First, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I created this image to show how I felt. At my worst, I was carrying too much weight. But if you see in the image, the weight I was carrying was really other things in my life. The emotions, the burdens of these emotions that gave me mental and physical pains and sufferings. I had pains in my body. I had allergies and fatigue, and my overeating led to type 2 diabetes and also high blood pressure. But I also was carrying mental weights like fear, guilt, shame, low self esteem, and being judgmental. I'm sure you can relate to that. We can feel in our bodies the pressure that we're feeling, the anxiety we're feeling. It seems like every day in life, we are carrying this burden and we're trying to escape it. And that's where emotional eating comes in. Okay, so what is emotional eating? I was trying to find a very simple definition because you'll find many definitions, many examples, many ways to discover that you're an emotional eater. But I found a great one on the Mayo Clinic website. Let's read it together. Emotional eating is eating as a way to suppress or soothe negative emotions, such as stress, anger, fear, boredom, sadness, and loneliness. Of course, these are just a few of the negative emotions we might be feeling that we're carrying every day in our life. And I want to focus on two words: suppress or soothe, because we can develop emotional eating and it helps us to push down our emotions so we don't think about them, we don't feel them, we suppress them, we push them down. But at the same time, we also soothe ourselves. And this soothing is a way for us also to avoid our feelings. So, all these feelings like stress, anxiety, worry, we use food to distract us so we don't feel this. And these two words are important. And the first thing we want to know really, what is self soothing? There is a good self soothing that we want to appreciate. Notice this definition: self soothing is an act of comforting yourself or oneself, especially when feeling distressed or upset, by engaging in activities that promote relaxation and emotional regulation. Now, this definition is healthy soothing because you notice you are working on emotional regulation. And what that really means is you're trying to bring your mind and your body into a relaxed state where you are not overwhelmed or overcome by negative emotions. So soothing, can be healthy if you do it with the goal of relaxing the body and the mind and regulating your emotional state. So, healthy self soothing will actually help us manage our emotions. They won't allow us to suppress them or ignore them or be distracted. But unfortunately, we tend to do the unhealthy self soothing. And what does that look like? When you look at that list, I'm sure you can relate. These are things we all do, like excessive social media use. People cannot stop from scrolling on their phones. And many people don't realize that this is used to distract you, to suppress emotions, to soothe you, but it doesn't promote true emotional regulation. Of course, there's binge watching TV or Netflix. And of course, we know the overeating or just some other kind of addiction that we have to do in order to suppress and avoid these negative emotions. Now, interestingly, being a workaholic can also be used to negatively soothe yourself because you keep your mind and your body so busy that you don't allow yourself to feel your feelings. And procrastination is another great example of trying to soothe ourselves because we don't want to face something. We don't want to face maybe the stress that comes with an activity we have to do and we must do. So we procrastinate and find something else to do so we don't have to feel those emotions. If you're relating to this, please enter some, questions in the chat. Tell me your experiences, and together we can learn and grow. So, we want to learn how to process our emotions, not suppress them, by avoiding them. And that's the foundation of our emotional eating because we have not learned how to process our emotions. And my goal with this channel is to help people to see the small steps they can take, the progressive steps that you can take. Because learning how to process your emotions is just not something you learn, overnight or 30 or 60 days and you're done. No, this is a lifelong effort, just like eating healthy, drinking clean water. We have to take our time each day to learn how to process our emotions because emotions are natural and they're healthy. Emotions really just tell us we have to do something. Let's say a dog is barking at you and you get prepared saying, oh no, I gotta either run or somehow avoid this. Or it could be that difficult conversation you have to have with a workmate or a family member. You really don't want to feel uncomfortable talking about this serious subject. And that anxiety that you feel is healthy if you realize, okay, my mind and body is telling me I have to take care of this. But as we learned, when we soothe ourselves unnaturally, we're going to try to avoid those situations. We're going to procrastinate. We're going to make up excuses. We're going to keep ourselves busy so we don't have time to regulate our emotions. And as the weeks go by, we're going to learn more and more about these steps. This webinar is going to be run every week on Wednesday at 8 p.m. And we're going to discuss different topics that'll help us to take baby steps to learn how to process our emotions. Now, notice though, there's really negative effects when we suppress and avoid our emotions. And one of the biggest things we do is we avoid communicating our feelings to ourselves and even to the ones that we have a close relationship with. And when you suppress your emotions, you have to understand there's not a switch in you that has suppress bad emotions and don't suppress good emotions. No, all the emotions we feel, from fear to love, are all running through us at the same time. And if we suppress our emotions, not only do we suppress the negative emotions, we suppress the emotions that make us feel good, make us feel happy. And that's why we get stuck in a cycle where our life feels uncontrolled, unhappy, like we just can't find a way to feel good about ourselves and about our lives. And then what happens, you stay stuck in this negative cycle and negative actions that just keep you in that state where you just cannot process your emotions. And we're going to definitely speak specifically on how to do this. So, how do we break free from our negative habits? Well, the first thing you have to do is you really have to become aware and you have to learn what negative emotions you're having. Because sometimes we have a negative emotions, but we don't know how to name it. We don't know how to locate it in our body. And the only way to become aware of this is to learn how to quiet your mind and listen to your body because we experience our emotions through our bodies. Now, in order to really understand our negative emotions, we're going to have to learn how they originated in our life. Many times, this is related to how we were raised, the culture we were in, the family we were in, the political environment we were raised in. There are so many things that create negative emotions. And if they never got resolved, especially as a young person, you get stuck in that negative cycle. And then you have to mourn these past traumas. And that is a skill within itself. And we're definitely going to have a specific webinar to talk about how to mourn, traumatic events that can happen at any time in our life, our childhood, our adolescence, while we're teenagers, young adults, and even older adults. And the final key to break habits is knowing how to use self love. And self love means that you will do for yourself exactly the things that you do for all the other people in your life that you love. How you think about them, how you put their needs first, how you look for ways to show them that you appreciate them, and you get to know them by telling stories and finding out about their life. Self love means you do it to yourself, and we will learn about that too. In my journey to learn how to stop emotional eating, and most importantly, how to heal the negative emotions that I've been carrying all my life since childhood, I realized I went through this cycle of change. And we're going to talk a lot about this throughout the journey of this webinar. I call it the cycle of change. The first part is you have to know how to tell your story. Understanding the source of your negative emotions and your traumas come from the story of your life. And this story that you have to tell isn't about the specific event that may have caused trauma. We're not trying to relive the trauma. We're telling the story of how the trauma affected us, how the trauma created an environment where we lost important things that we needed, like safety and love and connection, and things that made us feel afraid because we weren't protected or nurtured. And once you understand what you lost, the next step is to mourn your past. And all that means is you're going to grieve what you lost. For example, when I was a young boy, I lived in the Bronx and we had a time where there was a lot of drugs and thieves, and they would break into our apartments regularly. And this happened to me when I was between the ages of 4 and 6. And this created in me a fear of the future, because I lost um, security and safety that should have been in my home. My home didn't feel safe. I was just waiting for the next time burglars would come in to take our things. So as I grew up, I developed this attitude where it's just a matter of time before something bad is going to happen. So this loss that I experienced in safety and peace and connection and love was something I had to mourn through the eyes of my inner child. I had to learn how to get in touch with those feelings, not relive scary events, but show compassion and love to myself so I could help that inner child feel safe and feel at peace. And while you're working on what happened to you in the past, you have to work on what you need to do in the present. And this is where heal your present comes in. So you have to do a lot of things in the present moment that's going to help you. Because I was overeating and got type 2 diabetes, I then had to change my diet. I had to monitor my sugar levels. I am still doing that. And this is how you heal your present, by taking the steps you need, whether it's emotionally or physically, to improve your life. So this is just a quick overview of my goal for this webinar. Even though it's about how to stop emotional eating, it's really going to help anyone with any kind of negative emotions that are holding them back, that make you feel like you can't change your life. You're going to learn through different episodes what change is, what it looks like, and what steps you have to take to make changes in your life. You'll also learn how to see where you are in the process of change. Change has many stages and many levels that you have to go through. And when you learn these things, each day you can take baby steps to make your life better. So, one of the things I want to do with this webinar too is give weekly homework. If we don't take the time to review what we're learning, if we don't take the time and the space to review what we've learned and examine ourselves, we're not going to make progress. And you'll also learn about that. Next week, I hope to talk about what being aware means, to be self-aware, to be aware of your emotions and aware of what you're doing and not doing. So for this week, I would like you to write down on a piece of paper, and don't do it on a phone or a computer, because when you write on a piece of paper with a pen or pencil, it focuses your mind on what you're really trying to express. So answer these 3 questions. What is the negative emotion I'm trying to soothe or suppress? List the ways you soothe in an unhealthy way. When did you first start to feel this negative emotion? Now, the answer to these questions, they may not come right away, and you're going to have to think about them every day. One of the hardest things about when you're stuck in negative habitual habits like overeating is you're stuck in many other habits that you do throughout your life that crowd out your life, so you don't have time for this emotional work. And emotional work just means that you're taking the time and the space to slow down, to calm down, so you can process your emotions and process your thoughts. So maybe make a list of what your day usually looks like and put it on a timeline. You know, you work 9 to 5, you get up what time you get up, when you commute, and when you get home, all the things that you must do, you know, as a parent or a single person. Everyone's life is different. But notice where you can fit 15 minutes each day to work on these questions. And you'll be surprised how hard it's going to be, because your habit is not to take time to think about yourself, but to keep yourself busy and distracted and soothing yourself with things that don't really help you, but they slow down your progress if you want to stop emotional eating or remove negative habits from your life. So that's it for me today. You'll find this webinar is also concise, it's short, and I'm doing that on purpose because many webinars have so much information. By the end of the webinar, you don't even know where to start. I'm hoping this was concise and simple, something you can follow. It will be saved and recorded on my YouTube channel live section of the channel. It's part of my Be Present podcast YouTube channel. This is just another part of information that I want to share with people to help them on their journey to make their life better and to reach their goals to stop emotional eating. So thank you for your time. Definitely feel free to continue to send comments and questions to my email, which you should have seen on the bottom of the screen, and we'll also put in on the show notes for this webinar. So thank you again, and I wish you the best. And join me on the journey as we work on having a better relationship with food and with life. Thank you.